I don't think we need everyone to go vegan, but if we have people, I put myself in this category. Whereas once I learned about veganism and I read or watched Game Changers and read some books on it, I don't consider myself vegan or vegetarian, but I think I've reduced my meat consumption by 90%. And so, I feel much better for it. I'm happy that I did it, and I don't think I'll ever be vegan or vegetarian. So my point would be that, yeah, I don't think anyone should blow up a building or do these things like Extinction Rebellion, but like they make me think of that. I'm glad people are doing these things, that they're this angry, and I hope people get angrier. And maybe it would promote me to go to a protest or do something. And on some level, like if there isn't like people in the Amazon rainforest cutting down trees, like I kind of wouldn't mind if someone goes and disables one of the machinery that's cutting down those trees. So I don't know. I really struggle with this necessity for extremist views when it comes to protecting the planet, and the practical nature that I also agree with everything that you've said. So I'd like to hear what you think about that.
Yeah, it all comes back to this idea of pragmatism, and it's interesting some of the examples you gave because we're on the same page 100%. The current kind of incarnation, let's call it the Extinction Rebellion folks, and Just Stop Oil is probably a much better example because while they do
Mm,
have a manifesto and what they're trying to get to, I would question if the tactics they're using are getting them toward that goal. And what I mean by that is
okay.
I'm all for activism. I am all for even extremism where it's certainly necessary. But I think the difference between this current incarnation of a very extremist activist, let's call it antics, and maybe some of the examples you gave before, maybe of the civil rights movement, or a lot of times people compare Just Stop Oil to the suffragettes, which is really interesting. That comes up a lot. The suffragettes were very, very
Mm,
pointed with how they approached any sort of activism or protests that they did. They had their goal in mind of getting straight to politicians. So everything they did worked within that goal. The same thing with the civil rights movement. Anything that any civil rights leaders did was to raise awareness for the different plights of things going on, whether that's in the United States or certainly civil rights around the world. I'm not sure that a lot of the activism that happens today has that goal in mind. It's sometimes a great meeting of the minds. It's, a lot of really witty protest banners, which are fun to read. It might be some people, twirling fire or doing hula hoops or painting their faces. And it eventually devolves into this thing where you go, okay, what is actually going on here? What's the message you're trying to convey? And I think that's the type of activism that I'm talking
right.
about. The one where you scratch your head and go, I don't understand. I don't understand why you threw tomato soup on that and what that has to do. There is was probably, I mean, had they brought in a good
Right.
PR firm, they probably could have massaged that message of throwing tomato soup onto a painting because of X, Y, or Z. They could have found a way, but they didn't. And so that's the difference between that and maybe what the suffragettes are doing, or certainly what you talked about with the Amazon and a lot of the things happening there, and the disabling of machinery and the blockading of taking down trees. That's the sort of stuff we want to see because
Right.
that obviously ties into the point of whatever they're doing. And you look at that and you go, yep, I 100% get what they're doing and I support that because I understand it. A lot of people might have a cognitive dissonance trying to
Right.
support a cause that to them doesn't add up when it's going on. So again, the famous example of the tomato soup again, in people's minds they're going, okay,
Yeah.
I want to support you, but I don't get what you're trying to do. And so that's the difference. It comes down to the pragmatic part of it, and does the action match the message that you're trying to convey?